one's the best? Which 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 one's the best? What's the second best? There is no second best.
Welcome to Discover Crypto. The retail money market is hitting an all-time high, extreme levels, right as one of the best investors the world has ever seen, Warren Buffett, plans his departure, might shake the markets in a pretty big way. And one of the best true and tried indicators of money printing to come is flashing, getting us ready for 2026. We're going to compare this to one of the oldest cycle metrics that commodities have used across the planet to actually paint a very interesting picture for the year to come as we approach the end of the year. I'm joined with my compadre, Mr. Kelly Kellum. How the hell are you doing on this fine Tuesday afternoon?
You know, we were talking about it at lunch. I cannot believe tomorrow is New Year's Eve. We got New Year's Day, the day after that. 2026 is here. We got to be looking at what's going on in this market because I think we're in a pretty pivotal deciding point in what's going to be happening going into the first and second quarter of 2026. But I'm excited. We got some great charts that we'll be sharing today, some other news stories as well impacting the market. So everybody hit that like button, show some love, hit the subscription button, and drop a comment. Let us know right now if you had to do one thing different in 2026 versus what you did this year, 2025, with how you managed the markets, what you did. Name one change you're going to make in 2026. I'd love to see it. If we got any, we can all learn from each other's decisions here and grow together.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it. We have a great chartist, one of my favorite people in the world, joining us on the show today, the one and only Mr. Piano B. How the hell are you doing, my man?
Pretty good. Just enjoying the the little break, the little lull as we enter into this new year. Not much happening, but thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're still alive up there in Kanadistan. Things are getting weird.
It sure is.
I always hope that you're going to answer the phone back every time I hit you up. Well, let's get into the stories. There's a lot of ground to cover, honestly. I spent the morning talking about the potential blockade on taxes here in the United States. But now let's talk about some of the news. There's some pretty crazy stuff coming out in the news while me and Kelly were having lunch. Make sure to follow me at Druth Crypto. And gotta cover Kelly Kellum at Kelly Kellum on Twitter. But also, Piano Matty B, your ticker here at Piano Matty B. You can see it right below.
That's right.
He stays consistent, always staying on the gas for you guys. But Bitcoin, the price action, really not that exciting. And we do need to talk about the concern here. Piano Matty B, I'm looking forward to your ideas on what we might be looking at, because my concern, I'm dancing around the potential of a double green dot digging us out of this horrendous pullback of about 32%. I haven't had this signal since 19K Bitcoin. But the problem that I'm having, boys, is that right now, things structurally are very, very similar to February and January of 2022, where we found that kind of midpoint support in the guts of what was the previous washout after two new highs on Bitcoin, falls back down, finds slight support there, slight fake out to the upside, and then downtown to Chinatown, the previous cycle highs. And right now, I mean, from my analysis, I'm kind of worried, and really looking at the weekly, recovery, it's not looking as clean. The VWAP is running out of juice, and the money flow is returning back to equilibrium. So it's a two-sided bill. Obviously, I'm going to enjoy cheaper Bitcoin. But I'm interested in you guys. You got both Kelly and Piano Matty B do incredible work on the charts, especially from a longer-term standpoint. I'm in there trading all the time. I guess I'll go to Kelly first, and then I'll roll to Piano Matty B to get his rebuttal. But Kelly, what are you seeing on the charts and or feeling, given that, we're at that kind of make or break moment here on Bitcoin?
Well, I had to draw a new arrow on my charts.
Oh, Lord.
And what we're looking at here, just want to remind people, we had this tariff sell-off here and also the inauguration day this run up we saw with the excitement of the new crypto administration. It's going to be up only. Haha, psych bitches. Boom, dropped down. Ended up getting a nice bull div, came back up. And then we had this sort of October 10th, not sort of, but major washout here that really kind of started propagating downward price action. And then, of course, we had this government shutdown, longest in history, that also, correlated right in that 4-year cycle fear that's seeing it's coming down. Now, on the one hand, we have all this positive news we've been covering about the structural changes surrounding Bitcoin legislation, just institutions coming in. And yet we have the price right here. This is a new designator I have. This is a what the is this? What is going on in this market right now? I think a lot of we're really, I mean, we'd like to see a bull div or something. Yet we don't have any conditions for it yet. This either needs to come lower and have the RSI hold up here, or this needs to still break out, find support. There's work to be done. And to your point, that money flow coming down in a major way is very worrisome. However, we've got a couple other things here I just want to show really quick, which is, the long-term holder supply net change. This is coming back from selling all the way back to the zero line, getting back into stacking. So long-term holders are starting to stack again. And in addition to that, this is a similar chart zoomed out. And this was the largest selling pressure that we've seen since all the way back here on the bottom in 2019, back when we were $3,500. So the fact that Bitcoin is holding up as well as it has with this enormous sell pressure actually gives me a little bit more resilience about likely being in a potential bottoming structure with, of course, a little bit of hesitation just to say it's bottomed, because I still think we have that opportunity for the price action to come down into these zones that I've been highlighting for some time, coming down here, low 80s, mid 70s, or potentially even down into this zone. But the last thing I'll say is this is just pinching tighter and tighter and tighter. You see how small these ranges are. It feels like there's going to be a move that comes here sooner than later, and it's probably going to be in both directions.
Yeah. Grind time. And this is where, because there's so much information either way. You guys are two of the best chartists out there. Piano, what do you think about what Kelly said and kind of what you're looking at on your charts for where we're at right now on Bitcoin?
It's pretty similar. I have to admit though, like I've been in this game for a long time, and generally I feel like I know where the boat's going. I'm generally I'm watching the water, I'm watching the charts, I'm watching the waves, the pull of the moon, everything. And I usually can, I have a good feeling of where it's going. I honestly, for the first time in, God, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, I'm a little bit at a loss, because like after 2025, when we had nothing but bullish fundamentals, I mean, you couldn't stack up more bullish fundamentals, and the price just never moved, right? So I understand that in a bear market, nothing's going to go up, and in a bull market, nothing's going to go down. But it felt like we were in this weird purgatory where almost everything drove the price down. And so I tend to lean, like if you look at this weekly chart here, look at this price action. These are weekly candles. These aren't 4-hour candles, my friends. These are weekly candles. And I mean, the volatility is just so low. And if you want to make it really simple, there's just no buyers.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I'd love to also just highlight this real quick, because coming from Scott Bessent, I'm sorry, I have to switch my tabs. Scott Bessent, basically, this was in April. This is why I think part of the reason why we're seeing precious metals, we're seeing what's going on in the development of the stablecoin market and how those integrations are going to come. And you nailed it there, Piano Matabi, regarding all these incredible fundamentals, and the price hasn't moved. And this is a quick minute. I think we should all hear. Actually, we don't even need to hear what he has to say. He says this: in the next few years, we are going to have some kind of grand economic reordering, something equivalent to a new Bretton Woods. There's a good chance that this happens in the next 4 years, and I'd like to be a part of it. So when you hear something like this, Drew, what does this make you think of? Why is Bretton Woods important, and what kind of situation would this be if we have a new standard, a new Bretton Woods type of moment in financial markets?
Means we're going to war. Means we're going to a next world war is what it means to me. Now, Bretton Woods 1.0 was done after World War II. The slate had been cleaned, and the world abhors a void when it comes to leadership at the leading fiat currency. And America, obviously being the Giga Chad of World War II, took that position as the leader. Now, a Bretton Woods 2.0 situation does, in my mind, end up with a very bullish position for Bitcoin, because I feel that Bitcoin is something that the US government has laid out the groundwork of accumulation very similarly to the gold accumulation that the US did before we went to a gold-backed dollar. In 1930, there was legislation put forward, and the wording was very similar to the Bitcoin, strategic reserve conversation that we see right now. And Scott Bessent said it himself, Kelly. You remember Scott Bessent is like, yeah, we're interested in confiscating Bitcoin. We're interested in you paying your taxes that we demand from you at hard iron point. And then we'll take your Bitcoin from you for sure. The act of buying what Piano Matty B, that is one of the massive psyops that we're dealing with right now, is that we're seeing these huge MicroStrategy buys. We're seeing all of these gigantic purchases of Bitcoin, but it's all happening OTC. It's not affecting the price going up. They just like making the price go down. When the clients want to sell, they sell the Bitcoin on exchanges and dump the price. Then when they reaccumulate, they're not affecting the price to go up because they're doing it OTC. This is the difficulty within it. It's kind of a long-winded answer, but it does describe that we have some turbulence in the future. And honestly, the turbulence in the future is there. We have quite a few stories breaking about that. I want to ask,
but it kind of seems like if we're talking about a new Bretton Woods, something of that significance, would that to you kind of lean towards a new establishment or a reestablishment or a new designation of what the world reserve currency means? Because that's kind of what if that were the case, what does that mean to you? Do you think it's most likely it's going to be a stablecoin standard, a digitization, or is it going to be something moving out of the dollar entirely? I don't think Bitcoin's on the stage yet to where governments are going to take that as a world reserve currency. So what do you think that would most likely be?
It'd be stable coins, and it would be treasuries that have a hybrid Bitcoin US debt setup. I think Bit bonds are a version of it. But I think the crypto is here to stay, mostly is enticing to the powers that be for the stable coin usage. Bitcoin, I think it does have a chance of actually being put into a basket to back the next world reserve currency if it's the American stablecoin dollar moving forward. But if we do have a Bretton Woods 2.0 moment, I kind of feel like Circle's going to be that big winner in this, just for some reason. Gold, Bitcoin, stable coins seem to be the front runners of it. That's kind of where my mind's at. And honestly, it wouldn't be that crazy to see Bitcoin be a bigger part of the reserve currency from the verbiage that they've set up with this Strategic Reserve Act compared to the 1930s Gold Act. They are very, very similar wording. So,
but what's shocking to me though is the timing of it all, because on the nature of what's happening with the this change, the reordering, it's unquestionable. We've all seen what's been happening in the news headlines, but of course, name and point, tomorrow is the last day that Warren Buffett's going to be the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. And just so people understand, when they even talk about Bitcoin, it can't go to $1 million, but they don't realize Berkshire Hathaway went from $19 a share to $750,000 a share. People don't realize that because it's out of your wheelhouse. And this is not something you can buy percentages of like you can with Bitcoin. But from $19 to $750,000, Berkshire Hathaway, with Warren Buffett at the steward. And just to put this in perspective, everybody, that's nearly 4 million% profit. But what's even crazier about that? When you look at the world's top investors, this is where Warren Buffett is. And you want to see this ties back into the politics of why everybody's so damn frustrated right now. If he is essentially among the best, then why is it if you put him up against Nancy Pelosi? How is she? Oh my God, Buffett's it. Oh, no, wait, hold on. Pelosi has outpaced the best investor of our multi-generational time frame over the last 60 years. She's
talented.
This is just insane.
Yeah, it's That's pretty scary when you
It's
put this
still
in.
going.
Yeah, when you see that visually, it's I had a show that I spent a long time talking about the next America in the blockchain basement earlier this morning. I don't want to get too stuck in the weeds about it, but the tree is thirsty. The tree is thirsty. And, from where we're at right now, there's been some talks that they're going to block Congress from trading. Piano Matty B, you look at us from a third person perspective up in Kanadistan. Do you think there's any chance in hell that America stops the insider politicians from making tens of millions of dollars off of making decisions on a legislative standpoint?
No, but I think one thing that's come very clear, I'm going to maybe roll it back a bit. I wanted Trump elected because there was a test. It was a test to see if the illusion of democracy was just in my head or it's in front of our eyes and we just don't see it. So the test was if a normal kind of, we always thought Trump was, as normal as it gets, even though he's, a billionaire. If anyone could change something or anything, it would be him. But my test was if he gets in and does nothing, then we know there's a deep shadow state that's just basically putting all these puppets in charge. And sure enough, he's done almost less than nothing. In fact, everything he's done has gone against his voter base. And from looking up here in Kanadistan, it seems like he's trying to piss everybody off. And if you were on his side, it's almost impossible to be on his side because he's doing everything opposite to what's happening. But back to the Bretton Woods too thing, like if there's a silver lining to the calamity and chaos going on here, we as humans, we just don't understand time, right? And I would say we are in the 5th year of World War III. So why that's a silver lining is that this World War III is almost over. So it started with COVID, just a simple, bioweapon into the population, just to decrease the population as was. And now there's a saying, war is a continuation from politics by other means. Politics is a continuation from economics by other means. And so now we see the next wave of warfare is they're just polluting the Western world with immigrants. So the whole population's getting weak. It's getting dumb. It's getting less value overall. And that's how you bring a country to your knees. We're not talking about World War II where there's people in tanks coming over the hills, boots on the ground, right? This is a whole different type of warfare that we don't even understand is going on. But the good news is that as wars go, we're getting pretty close to the end of it. And in that end, so they just can't switch the hegemony from the US dollar to something else. They have to have a massive catalyst, right? So the catalyst will be the end of this war, and we can see it with Venezuela. We can see it with this not paying income tax thing. The revolution is gurgling, and I never thought I'd really see it, because things get heavy, right? And then it goes back. But I feel we're at a temperature right now that I've never seen in the American population. And believe me, all the world has is Americans. So this is it. Canada's not going to do. Yeah, we had the trucker thing, but it was immediately squashed, right? You wouldn't believe I did a poll on my Twitter. I have a small Twitter feed. It was like, do you approve of $2.5 billion being sent to Ukraine? Thinking, obviously, it's going to be like 99-1 disapprove, right? This is my Twitter feed. It was like 80% approved. So we sit in this bubble, thinking we're generally on the right side of history, but we're in that small little population. And as that population grows, I guess things will change. But the good news, long story short, the good news is that we're at the end of the war. They're going to do a Bretton Woods, and probably that is when we see the Bitcoin price go insane. But until then, my thesis for the next couple of years is DCA into the crisis. Right? There's going to be a crisis, so DCA into it.
That was a great analysis. I haven't heard that before, that we're coming to the tail end of what will be written as the third world championship.
Right.
War. Something very interesting to think about.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at some stories.
The third world championship.
I mean, what?
Yeah.
Who wins the gold?
Yeah, right. It is what it is. So this is interesting. This might play into our market next year. Retail money market funds hit a record $2.25 trillion. It's up $270 billion year over year. Retail money market funds assets are now on track for the third consecutive annual surge. So money markets retail side are going up honestly, they're not hammering into, Bitcoin and crypto. They're probably going to be top blasting a lot of silver, but it is on the background. And this is one of my most exciting things. And me and Kelly have been talking about this for a long, long time. So the Treasury has a problem that is rarely talked about because it's kind of a macro thesis. There's a giant blue spike on this. This giant blue spike is the amount of debt coming due the United States government in 2026. Over $8 trillion worth of debt needing to be refinanced. And this, at current interest rate levels, would basically send us into a debt interest death spiral. And if you compare this, they overlaid this with the, I think this is the old pig farmer chart here. It lands right
almanac, yeah.
Yeah, the pig. And then how insane is it that a pig farmer's almanac has been working correctly for what, like 100 years or something like that? Absolutely crazy. It's landing at 2026 actually being a decent year for assets. Now, this landing, do you guys give this any credence? Because honestly, like, I feel like there's no other way than to inject an absolute boatload of liquidity and low interest rates in 2026 to stop this massive blue candle from crushing.
Well, Drew, we've already got, did you notice it? Oh, that's the wrong tab. My bad. We have $45 trillion in fiat that's sloshing around out there. And just to clear it up here, this is the China M1. This is, how much China has here, using adjustments to include household deposits in 2025. And then the U.S., this is not including savings. So this is basically liquid $45 trillion in liquid capital that's out there, that's in markets. And they're about to print more money. So for what we're seeing right now in the broader global landscape, I think it's anyone's guess. And again, I want to throw it back. It's just kind of bizarre that, I don't think Warren Buffett could have predicted this, when he looked at when he was going to retire, but he's retiring at a time where it feels like things are, and it has felt like this for 10 years. Things are on the verge of cataclysmically breaking with the chart that you and I show regularly with how much unrealized losses the banks are sitting in, the fact that we have to refinance all this debt, the fact that, it's just, they have to kick the can down the road. Unfortunately, the U.S. has 4-year election cycles, which on the one hand feels okay, but that was also established before we had the how fast paced the world moves now and how interconnected knowledge is and all this stuff where we're at now. And so rather than politicians working for the good of the people, they work for the good of their campaign that's going to be in 2 years. So they're not making decisions of how this is going to affect 20 years down the line because they're more concerned with, can I get reelected in 2 years? I mean, how much time do they actually work towards the goals in their office other than maybe a year and a half? Because then the rest of the time they're campaigning for the next time they're going to, it's insane. But 45 trillion is out there is the point.
Well, and their average age is like 70 years old. They're probably not.
It's called gerontocracy, right? So we're under the blanket of what's called gerontocracy, which is ruled by old people. And generally, as a society dies, one of the signals is the old sacrificing the young, right? And historically, when a society is growing, the young will, be the people that get everything and grow the economy, grow the society. But now that we have boomers in charge, it's going to change one funeral at a time, as horrible as that sounds. But the next generation won't have the same values. Like, for instance, like the millennials or the Gen Zs coming up, they don't give a fuck about Israel, right? To them, it's like, what the hell's going on here with Israel, right? So that will die in its own way. So right there is the crisis, right? So you have the boomers losing the power, but they have to give that power to something or somebody before they leave, or else everything they've done is over. So that again, it leads to why we're going to DCA into this crisis pretty soon.
Wow. And as we're talking, we've been talking about some pretty big macro events on the horizon, especially kind of around this Bretton Woods 2.0 concept, which is something I could see 5-6 years ago. And it's a lot of the portion of why I got into cryptos. I could just see the need to back the dollar with something different. And Bitcoin stands a good chance of being chosen for just that. But things are not calming down on the world macro side. Like today, Taiwan deployed U.S.-made tanks as China surrounds the island with missiles, testing missiles, driving their warships, their fighter jets over their airspace. And Taiwan is deploying U.S.-made material, tanks, in their defense. I don't even have the story, but I know this off the top of my head that the drone movement into Moscow and Putin's residence also under question if they were using American-made drones for that. And as this is all happening, Scheinbaum out of Mexico has raised the tariffs by 35% on imports from India, and she hit 35% Chinese import tariffs that are starting on Thursday. Very, very interesting move. And, you know, I was talking about this yesterday. The silver price doing what it is doing just feels to be a very ominous canary in the coal mine for macroeconomic craziness.
Well,
right?
dude, did you see? I mean, I know we discussed it pre-show, but the fact that, oh, here we go. Yeah, the fact that dimes, remember coins used to actually have the metal in them that they're supposed to be worth basically $5 worth of dimes in 1965 or before that now are actually worth $287 in silver. It's insane.
Well, it's just hyper debasement, right?
Yeah.
Think
That
about
was the big
rate.
play for silver, right? Like when I was a gold bug and silver bug, the big play was no one understands how this is needed for society to keep going. It's almost like energy in a weird way, silver, right? So we're kind of seeing that, and that's I think it's the advent of AI, right? We're not going to have AI without silver. But just to put it into perspective, I was a gold and silver bug, but I sold it all to get into Bitcoin. Now, had I kept it, I would have, 1 or 2x'd over 20 goddamn years. Right? But instead, I put into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's done at least a 10x since.
Right. Well, and I'm letting the silver bugs have their moment. They've been waiting a long time.
Oh, yeah.
To dance in the sun. And that's kind of the concept there. It's like, I feel good and happy for the gold and silver maximalists out there because they finally see a nice parabolic move. And really the concept of silver and the amount of shorts that are on silver right now is kind of the bigger idea in my mind. In Dubai right now, silver is priced at $95.05 an ounce. But the thing is that 60% of the annual silver production is utilized in silver, in like jewelry, electronics, things of that nature. The amount of shorts that are on silver right now is 4.4 billion ounces from just two banks. Just two banks are short silver nearly 5 times the supply that is annually produced. And of that supply that's annually produced, 60% of it is needed for production anyways, right? So if there's any sort of call from these organizations that have these positions in play, the silver shorts are going to get wrecked. That's what's going to happen. And also the manipulation of it and having such a vast amount of irresponsibility on leverage where you cannot provide the actual product that they supposedly bought on paper by a magnitude of 5x creates a gigantic threat to
it's like 287 to 1 or something.
Yes,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So then people will come at us like crypto's the reason for the manipulation and blah blah blah. Now I want to ask you this, man. To be someone had a good question. I never ask you. I rarely ask you. So other than Bitcoin, is there any other coin that you're looking at DCAing into or like getting exposure to right now?
No. I've learned my lesson, I think, a cycle or two ago. And the lesson is, had I just put it into Bitcoin, I would have done better. And now there was some noob mistakes I made, just not knowing the use case of certain alts. I was just kind of like tiptoeing through. Oh, what's this? Oh, maybe I'll get this. Maybe I'll get this. Had I just put everything into Bitcoin way back then, I would have been way better. I still have some in a wallet that are just collecting dust, and they're just so low that I'm just like, well, what am I going to do with it, right? I just keep it. But I should have put it into Bitcoin.
Yeah. If you're not actively managing an altcoin portfolio, like very, very focused in a way, you can't just set an altcoin and forget it in a big portion, in my opinion, right? That's like I remember I picked Polygon last cycle because it had like a cool logo. I knew nothing about it. I bought it for like 2 or 3 cents and then G'd it above $2. But the point was I got more Bitcoin out of the deal, right? And I think where people fall short when it comes to altcoins is not being willing to sell that 5, that 10x, because a lot of those movements were there.
They want the 10,000x and they end up going negative.
Right. Absolutely. And so
if there was one altcoin that I think may do well, but I don't even think, like, I can't even say that because the exponential doubling time of technology is so fast that by the time this one gets its legs, someone might have gotten another one, and just made it slightly better. But I do think as far as rails go and speed and efficiency and adoption, I think Solana maybe has a runway somewhere. But at the end of the day, I'd still put into Bitcoin. Yeah.
That's a lesson learned from a man that's been around for a real long time. And honestly, like, I hypermanage and I've gotten away with it. And honestly, 2025, I was pretty damn profitable, but it was only profitable for me because I was trading correctly. And trading correctly this last year has not been easy. Some of the best traders I have ever seen, like even CryptoFace, had a difficulty leading up. He might be positive for the year after his big moves I just saw, but he was super candid with it. It has been a god-awful year for trading, and that made me feel better to even have some slight gains and some slight.
And we've got a ticking time bomb that on the one hand, we have an overwhelming upside possibility with what's happening with tech and AI and all that entire sector, in addition to what's happening with Bitcoin. But at the same time, there's alarms that are sounding out there like this one. I mean, we've been just breaking to new all-time highs on the stock market over and over. And this line right here, that's just absolutely moonshotting, that's margin. So we're at all-time highs on margin at the same time when we're at all-time highs. You see what that happened right here. We had a pretty decent pullback. So while I am bullish on 2026, there are plenty of conditions that would scream to, I don't want to say hedge, but make sure you understand what the potential for patience might be if the market does have a bit of a downturn, but also what is your strategy to deal with it, and how are you positioned? If you're uncomfortable now, if it drops 20 more %, you're going to be a lot more uncomfortable. So you need to be aware of these things on the conditions where the price very well could explode higher, but there are some risk mitigation signals out there that say, hey man, you just need to be cautious.
Yeah. And we got this question here. Let's run it by you guys. We all know we are being manipulated in this market. The question is, how does it stop? I have my own personal thoughts about that. Kelly or Piano, you guys want to chime in? Is there any end to this 10 a.m. giant manipulation that just consistently happens?
Well, the one thing I don't like about it is that you have to, come to terms with the fact that it's capturable, if that makes any sense, right? So we tend to get into Bitcoin thinking that it's like the people's market and no one can control it and it's decentralized and all the good stuff, right? But then we see this price action just getting slammed down, at 10 o'clock. It's like, well, something is controlling this. This isn't natural market behavior. So it begs the question, if it's capturable, well, how long can it be capturable for?
Yeah. Kelly, what are your thoughts on that? Like, is there any escape this manipulation now that we're in bed with Wall Street, or is it cooked?
I think it's going to become more controlled. I think the fact that we have institutional players that are playing with, they're playing with peanuts in the crypto market right now. And they're able to swing the bat at major markets out there. There's silver spike manipulations happening, and that's a major asset class. There's we're seeing it in gold. We're seeing it in the stock market and housing. So, Elio trades, somebody, I think is Akora YouTube, mentioned it. We talked about it a bit on this morning, or DZ and TJ talked about it this morning with the potential sort of capturing of the market making that's in crypto through the TradFi market makers. And these guys, this is like me claiming I'm rich against somebody sitting in the jungle in the Democratic Republic of the Congo versus Warren Buffett's richness and wealth compared to me. So the same thing is true with the market makers from TradFi. If they really do, which I think is more likely than not, why would they not want to have control and capture as much money as possible by controlling the mechanisms by which the liquidity is shifting and trapping and setting up the course for what direction the market they want it to go. So I think we need to keep our eye on that. And I think October 10th was a little bit of a taste of that. But if this does rotate into Ken Griffin or, Citadel or some other major players with, the DTCC, we're starting to see legislation that major stock markets and exchanges for traditional assets are now able to start trading and exchanging Bitcoin and crypto. Then the only answer to that is traditional market makers are already setting up their frameworks for how they're going to capture and control the liquidity flow on this asset class.
Do you guys think we'll see some of the volatility that we are born and bred with during the past cycles, or is that over?
Well, we're multi-trillion-dollar asset now, but we just saw what gold and silver can do, and I do think that moment will come where we think in terms of like manipulating down right now, because that's what we're seeing is manipulating and suppressing the price down. But there's also manipulation to the upside, right? That I think will eventually come to crypto. And when I think of the world is captured, the world is manipulated, and it's my job to find out where they're going to manipulate all the money into to make money off of it and get in position ahead of time. One thing does come to my mind in terms of where JP Morgan, where American money markets would like to move the money into in crypto, and that is the base network. So I do feel that base network and the pillar of it being Aerodrome and potentially the base token to come. Still have not gotten any announcement about a base token, but Aerodrome is one of those main liquidity pillars within the base ecosystem. JP Morgan is launching their token on Base Network and has valued the Base Network in total at around $34 billion as things sit while the chips are down right now. This makes me pretty excited about a potential to capture some of that forced movement of liquidity into the Base Network over the coming year. So that's kind of been an old school concept I've had, is that somehow Coinbase was going to capture Ethereum. They didn't capture it in a cage. They just made an extremely cheap, easy to use base network on top of Ethereum. And I think that a lot of the institutional level and potentially even government level DeFi will happen on base network. The US wants to hoist up an American made product, an American made crypto organization, and compete with Binance with that very tool. That's what I.
Well, and to your point there directly, Piano Matty B, I think that, and also to Drew, I think that one of the things that is a major issue in the crypto ecosystem right now, Bitcoin most specifically, and then that's going to trickle down to the risk appetite for the altcoins as well, is the fact that Bitcoin doesn't have a unified mission or expectation or understanding in terms of the global investor. Institutions have an idea about it. Retail have speculative ideas about it, as well as long-term ideas about it. There's discourse about it being digital gold, so investing in it like it's a store of value. Other people look at it as something like it's a technology risk-on, risk-off play. So I think this just screams and reminds us that it is an emerging asset. And by nature of it being an emerging asset with very fractured discourse around what the asset is and what it means, I think we're still shaking off some of that. So can it still have the volatility that it has before? I think yes, but I think it's going to be in a much different way than we've seen it. I think at some point in the next 6 years, likely a little bit sooner than that. I mean, it could happen next year, but sometime within the next 6 years, I think we're going to have some price movement that outpaces what you would have ever expected based on the theory of the law of diminishing returns, because we will hit some point of S curve of adoption, which means like you're kind of growing and then it stabilizes, but then you get this sort of parabolic lift. And that's evident by looking at and understanding fixed max cap supply against every asset in the world that has an infinite supply. And as that understanding unfolds, I think we're going to see some inflection point like we're seeing on gold right now, but where we see this mass run up on the price action that outpaces a cycle before it. And then I think it's going to kind of stabilize from there, still a volatility, but not have that run up any longer.
Yeah. And now I want to ask you guys and you guys in the chat. So I purchased some Bitcoin last night. I added a tiny bag of Tau, and before that I had topped off on Canton Network. I want to know, are you guys out there buying any crypto right now? Are you buying Bitcoin? Are you buying any altcoins? Let me know in the chat if everyone's aggregate buyers, or if, kind of give me a litmus understanding of how many people are out there. Piano, have you been adding Bitcoin in this layer, like this level we're at right now? Are you looking for the next layer down at like 70, 65K?
No, I DCA into the crisis. Like I put my money where my mouth is. I DCA every day into Bitcoin. So in Canada, we have this great exchange called Bull Bitcoin, which goes over the Lightning Network. So I just send a small amount of crypto every single day, and I increase it based on where I think we are in the market. So right now it's very low, but if we go lower, I just increase it up. So it's just like I got a little tap from my economic vein here straight into Bitcoin, and that'll never change. But
Gotcha.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Seeing as though this is going to be the last time I'm on 2025 with you guys, what are your 2026 predictions?
Oh, so I think here's what I think. I think the ultimate psyop, and I'll just pull up the Bitcoin chart to kind of explain myself here, my chaos theory. So the ultimate psyop for market makers to pull would be to edge us right above previous all-time highs, just barely above the production cost of Bitcoin, and keep you here for a very tight range for a good amount of time before taking off and just making a stair step back up to the upside, probably around the end of Q1, Q2. So the ultimate psyop in my mind would be like something like this. Oh, and then just hang out here and then zip back on up and start fighting our way into new all-time highs. Now, where I think we can go, I don't have a strong prediction one way or the other. I do feel like we're going to see new all-time highs on Bitcoin in 2026. I do feel that way. But they could very well just manipulate us back down to the center point, ride us around, and everyone will say it's over when we're at 100K if we bump to 150, and just continue this maddening staircase to the upside for us. A lot of people, myself included, are hoping for cheap Bitcoin down here in the previous all-time high range, this kind of $65,000 zone. But if I was a hateful market maker that wanted everyone to be off of the ship, leave the bears behind, leave the bulls behind, then I would essentially keep it just barely above that previous all-time high zone, and then rip it to the upside, absolutely go ballistic out of the blue, and cause everyone to just freak out because they missed out. That's what I kind of feel like is going to happen. What do you feel like, Kelly?
I mean, I feel similar, a little different. I think we're going to likely see some very bullish price action. Same thing into the end of Q1, Q2. I think is going to be quite bullish. There is a potential sell-off possibility too because of expectations about the new Fed chair. But with that, who knows? With the new Fed chair, and Trump has telegraphed it very, very, he's advertised that he's picking somebody that's going to agree with him, right? So
Yeah.
he wants interest rates at 1%, which would mean either a pretty substantial cut pretty quickly when the new Fed chair comes in, which I think would boom markets. But I do think I'm still watching for a little bit move down below the $80,000 mark where we're at, from where we're at right now. But I think going into I think people are still cautious going into the end of January, because the government shutdown is still kind of lingering, because they don't have clarity on that until potentially, again, it's only potentially January 30th, because they might not come to a decision and then we could go into another government shutdown. So I do think into Q1 is going to be bullish. Q2 is going to be super bullish. Q3 It's summer, maybe a little flat chop zone. And who knows about Q4 because we're in uncharted territory outside of the 4-year cycle matrix.
Very interesting. Piano Man to be, what do you think? You got some arrows drawn. One of them makes me happy. One of them also makes me happy because I get an all-time high. What is this?
Well, you listen. There. I have two choices to make here. One, do I go with my heart or do I go with my mind? And if I go with my mind, I just follow the numbers and the CAGRs, right? So I think we briefly talked about this last time, but the CAGRs have been decreasing, just like diminishing returns, right? But to put diminishing returns into a number, we're basically halving the CAGR, right? So if we can see, if you can, maybe I'll draw this out from here, peak to here. The 2021, that was 35% CAGR over 4 years, right? And so when we go from here to here, oh, come on, where's the thing? There we go. From here to here, 69 to 126. That's a 16% CAGR. So we're going all-time highs to all-time highs, right? Not all-time, not like the bear market to, not 15.5 to 126. We're going to 69 to 126. So that's a 50% reduction of CAGR. So we've never reproduced the CAGR before, if you know what I mean. Like
diminishing returns.
Yeah. So, and if they're getting cut in half, I'm a probabilitarian and a pattern recognitionist. I would say 35, 16, 8. So if we have an 8% CAGR over 4 years, that's going to put Bitcoin price at about 170 in 2028. Now that's what the mind says, right? That's just the observer doing the math and the numbers. At any time, a black swan can change the F out of that scenario, but it's going to take a crisis. I think what we didn't see in 2025 is a crisis. And Bitcoin was born
the whole
out of a crisis.
2025 was a crisis, it felt like.
Well, lump it all together.
It was a crisis for price action not moving, but there was nothing that, like, there was no COVID, there was no massive influx of anything. It was just really kind of boring, right?
So wait a minute, you're saying that the reduction from 16 to 8 would take it about 178, you said?
Yeah.
That's interesting because the chart that I've shared since June of last year basically had my likely target up here, which would basically be right about the 180 mark.
Is that in 2028?
This is 2026.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Whenever it is, but yeah.
I mean, it's like you got to think about what would cause the most pain to retail. The most pain to retail would be destroying our 4-year cycle thesis, not giving the 4-year cycle maximalists what they want, but also not giving the bulls what they want immediately too. Just a jackknife up to the right, basically a staircase type scenario. And I do feel that way. Outside of a giant black swan like Piano Man to be mentioned, I am thinking in those terms. And I saw a really, really good question. As we're coming up to the end of the year, this is from Keyshawn. What life habit from 2025 produced the best return on investment for you guys? I'll go first. Boxing every day in the morning, releasing the stress every morning, sweating a lot every morning has really been incredible for me. Kelly, what was the best habit of this year that you got the best return out of in your own life?
Sleep, getting to bed early, turning off when I get in bed probably earlier than I'd even want to mention. But I get in bed, I watch a little bit of TV. I might do some stuff on the computer, but then I turn every screen off and I might listen to an audiobook or something that doesn't have a screen. And I let my mind sort of quiet down and no visual stimulation. And I sleep like a dream. I wake up without an alarm sometime between 5:45 and 6:30 every day. Fresh as I'm like super morning animal now. I'm very, very ready to get out the day. So I'd say sleep was mine.
Love it. Piano, what have you been up to? What things have you done to improve your life this year that you can look back and be like, yeah, that was a good move? Chat, let me know too. I want to know what you guys did.
I've just really kept on. Like, so I do a 10-minute workout, right? So I base everything in my life on doing it 10 minutes a day. And reading, research, piano, singing, and working out. So every day I work out for 10 minutes because it has a couple of upsides. One, the consistency keeps you on the train forever. You're never getting off the train and maybe missing the next one, right? So I have friends who will work out every second day or whatever, but then it becomes the day you, oh shit, I got to work out for an hour and a half or whatever. And then if you miss that one, now you have almost half a week or maybe a week in between workouts. So you just get on that train and do 10 minutes a day. And if you can't do 10 minutes a day, you have to ask yourself, well, what the hell's wrong with my life if I can't exercise for 10 minutes a day? And that just feeds into every aspect of your life, because you look at anything, like let's say you wanted to learn an instrument. You wanted to learn the guitar. Just pick up the guitar for 10 minutes a day. You know it's not too long. You got 10 minutes to do it. And in a year, you'll be able to play the goddamn guitar just by doing it 10 minutes a day.
You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me so hard of was it Something About Mary or something like that, when they're in the car and they're talking about 6-minute abs, man. It's all about 6-minute abs, man. I just got it. No, I got something better. 5-minute abs. No, man, you need 6 minutes.
Oh my gosh. I did start teaching my son guitar as well. Got him a guitar for Christmas, his favorite color. And every night since Christmas, we've been playing guitar together for maybe 10 or 20 minutes. I let him tell me his favorite song, and then I'll go learn it on guitar, kind of lead by example and just show him the bass line notes of what it is and kind of getting him hooked that way. But I'm really, really enjoying it. And, you know, even with as chaotic and up and down, we still hit a great all-time high on Bitcoin this year. Altcoins left much to desire, but 2025 for me was gains out of trading. 2024 was gains out of altcoins, right? So we had an alt season. It was just way ahead of schedule, and I felt like an idiot for selling during 24, but things have completely flushed back to where I want the prices to be for reaccumulation. So I'm just being selective. You know, not being too crazy out there. I don't want to get overexposed because the market is so fragmented. We have like 27 million different crypto projects out there, be it meme coins and all these random things. So I do implore you guys, if you're watching and you're seeing all these charts being flushed down to near zero levels, it feels like not all of these crypto projects are going to survive. And so you have to be very selective. If you are going to get into altcoins, be very, very heavily researched and on the button in the narrative, understanding what's going on the ground very concisely, because it is not for the faint of heart. You can win. I've won 2 cycles in a row, but you have to keep your ears to the grindstone. And when you do find that time to sell, you're going to feel like a fool, but you have to have goals that you can change your life with that altcoin, make the move, pull the trigger, and move on. Kind of my process. Worked out great. But I do acknowledge it's been a difficult year for most altcoins. Someone was asking if I like HBAR. I do like HBAR. In terms of price action, it's got crazy holders. How are the poor XRP? XRP is actually holding up. The chart is holding up way better than a vast majority of altcoins, right? It seems that every time XRP hits $1.70, the XRP army are out there selling their neighbor's cat or doing whatever they can to buy XRP, the retail side, while institutional dumping continues. It's trying to hold on. What do you think of the XRP chart, Maddie? I haven't asked you about this one in a while.
I just brought it up here. I mean, we're holding on tight to this support, right? The thing about XRP, it's like, to me, it's like a lunatic fringe, right? So it's like they had such a strong community that it'll exist. You know, they'll follow each other either up or down, right? So whether you're in it or not, I mean, I wouldn't get in it, but I mean, she's holding on. Look at this. She's holding on. Break this. Well, we've had a couple wicks down here, right, underneath it. But we're at real crunch time here. But nothing looks good, right? You can't dress a monkey up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been a hell of a day. You know, I'm feeling excited that it's a new year right around the corner. Kelly shocked me by reminding me that tomorrow is New Year's Eve. Okay, and there's going to be a lot of reflecting. I'm going to put out my 2025 portfolio review to show you guys my losers, my winners, and how I was even able to come out of this year profitable, because it has been an absolute battle. And I acknowledge that altcoins in general look like a complete dumpster fire. So I'm pretty damn excited that I came out in the green. But it's been a battle. It has not been easy. Kelly, what in the world is on your computer screen right now?
I just wanted to remind people not to don't skip ab day, guys.
Oh my God. What?
And it's
Oh,
and it's just a reminder, this is obviously a joke, but same thing when you're looking at your portfolio. There's something that's you have to have a core. Much like this, it looks stupid because the guy doesn't have a core, right? Doesn't have a torso. When you're looking at your portfolio, the torso of your portfolio, large in part, should be Bitcoin or something that you have a huge amount of expectation, but also diligence that you've done and rooted real reasons why you think there's a fundamental base case for it to actually, grow into the future and not just be another one of the pump and dumps that are out there or something that just completely gets squashed by new technology. So make sure you're treating your day and how you're spending your time, how you're exercising, how you're eating, how you're engaging with your friends and family, how you are taking care of your mind, how you're eating, how you're sleeping. Everything has a time and a place. So while we love each and every one of you here on the Discover Crypto channel, tuning in, chatting, dropping your like buttons, dropping comments, challenging us sometimes, we love it all. But we also want to make sure that you're not just fully engaged here with us. Be fully engaged with your life, man. Don't end up being the guy with no torso because all you did was work on other things going on in your life, leaving you completely misshapen.
very reasonable. Well, I'm excited for the end of the year, guys. It's been an incredible run. Kelly reminded me that we are talking about digital assets created by computer networks on a show that's broadcast across the world to a bunch of nerds. And we have electricity, we have water. I have hydrogen infused water.
If we
now.
described what we did to somebody that's never, like, whether they're in a distant jungle that's never seen a computer or somebody pre-1950, we are an alien species. So we're all trying to figure it out, man. 6-minute abs, man.
Oh my God. Well, Piano Matty B, before we send out, where can people follow you and when are you going live next, brother?
Well, generally, I'm live every morning, 8 a.m. I've taken a break for the past week because I was anticipating no movement, right? So my channel is a technical analysis channel, kind of. You know, it was more when there was more movement, but we talk about it at 8 a.m. But there hasn't been moving, right? So we generally talk about anything. Usually on Friday, Drew tries to make it. I'll let you know if I'm on this Friday. But I play New Year's gig, and then I just might chill out for the next 4 days. But like everyone should just take some time to chill out.
Love it, man. Well, I really appreciate everyone in the chat. Someone said we're a great news channel. I appreciate that. Reha, appreciate that. I focus very hard on making sure that I'm not saying things that are not true, and to be as honest as I can. This market, there's many different ways to make money, but there are also many ways to get wrecked. So you got to stay focused. Understandably, we're going to the New Year's. Enjoy the family and buckle up because 2026 is about to get crazy.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.